All right, everyone, welcome back to the Family Beatdown Fantasy Football League update show. This is week number 3. Let's get right into it. So, before we get into our college update, let's talk about the North Mac Panthers, who are off to a 4-0 start, now rated number 6 in their division in Class 3A. Way to go, Panthers. They knocked off Williamsville, who's had a 43-game regular season winning streak online, and North Mac took them down, and they knocked off Auburn, which was an overtime game and very exciting from what I can tell, according to the press reports. But at any rate, North Mac sitting on top of the Sangamo. They play Pleasant Plains this weekend. So good luck to the Panthers, and we'll see what happens come Saturday morning. Taking a look at our teams, the Trojans, my God, they dropped 41-31 to Stanford. Huge upset, huge win for the Cardinal, probably their marquee win of the season after stumbling in week number 1 against Northwestern. Everybody thought Stanford, you could write them off, but not now. Stanford now moves into the top 25 at number 19. But it never fails that when one of these teams is ranked and the other one isn't, and they play, it's upset time. It's happened the last 3 times in a row when one team comes in being ranked, the other team isn't. That team wins. USC did it 2 years ago when Stanford was rated number 4, was at that game. The crowd storms the field. They did it last Saturday, and they did it in a very convincing fashion. The Stanford defense was very stingy. They made otherwise potent USC offense struggle, and then on the defensive side of things, it's like they couldn't stop them. Quarterback passed for nearly 300 yards. They rushed for nearly 200 yards combined. Just a ton of offense, and it was 41-31 was the final. Wasn't even that close. Any rate, USC now takes on Arizona State next week. For the Fighting Irish now move up to number 6 after a big win over Georgia Tech 30-22. Those of you that love the Notre Dame will know that Georgia Tech was the team that Rudy got his big sack in. Taking a look at next week, way to pad the schedule, way to get into the meat of the schedule now. We've got this week coming up, we've got UMass, University of Massachusetts, the Minutemen, then you got Clemson, and then you got Navy. Boy, way to schedule the hard ones there, Notre Dame. But at any rate, you're at number 6, you're undefeated, and you're going to get another win this week from UMass. Now, taking a look at the Miami Hurricanes, Ryan's team, 36-33, big winners over Nebraska. They take a week off this next week and play University of Cincinnati. But Miami is now sitting atop the ACC at 3-0. So nice work there, boys. Taking a look at our league, in our action, I had just enough gas in my tanks to get one past, back that pass up, who was off to an 0-2 start. First time you've ever been 0-2, I believe, Rebecca. This is not typical for you, but Smell This wins 117-97.8. Swamp Donkeys improved to 2-0, staying unbeaten, 167-162 winners over Girard Invincibles. Moist Men of the Mountain also undefeated with just a barely a 2-point win over, not quite a 2-point win over Blood, Sweat, and Beer, 137.6 to 145.9. Big Blue more than doubles up. People of Color drops to 1-1. Score was 176.4, 84.4 for Ryan. Veronica is now 0-2. Also, or excuse me, 2-0. Also at 2-0 is our Basic White Chicks. Your Basic White Chicks are 2-0 after a 117-98 win over Third Down for What? And Blue and Gold posts nearly 100 more than Dawn, 75.6. Jake, 170 to 75.6. Dawn drops to 2-0. Jake moves to 1-1. Taking a look at the standings, Moist Men of the Mountain and Basic White Chicks sit atop the Cardinal Division at 2-0, and Swamp Donkeys and Big Blue, same record, on top of the Gold Division. Let's take a look now at week number 3. Smell This is going to play Moist Men of the Mountain. Right now it's 124.6 to 123.3 projected in my favor. Aaron Rodgers gets Kansas City. Demarius Thomas, who is catching passes from Peyton, listed as probable, but he's got a matchup against Detroit. I got to find a substitute for Ashlon Jeffries, who is out. Giovanni Bernard gets a matchup against Baltimore, and Isaiah Crowell against Oakland, so I should do pretty well there. For the Moist Man, Marcus Mariota. Nice job there, Tyson, going out for the Marcus Mariota experiment. He gets Indianapolis, who is atrocious this week. They made the New York Giants look good last night, so they must suck. Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ, as I like to call him. He gets the Washington Redskins projected to go 12. Sanders against Detroit. He's got big numbers projected. I mean, it looks like a great game for Tyson. Only thing he needs to look at is Coleman, who's listed as out. Even though all of that is said, I give the pick, of course, to smell this. Taking a look now at our next game, Girard Invincibles versus People of Color. It is 124.8 to 120.9 in favor of Girard Invincibles right now. Grandpa at 0-2. He's got Matt Stafford playing against Denver. He's got Adrian Peterson against San Diego. Forsett against Cincinnati. These are all good matchups for Grandpa. For People of Color, Andrew Luck, who's just playing against or behind a terrible offensive line against Tennessee. Marcus Colston against Carolina, and Carlos Hyde, who's listed as questionable against Arizona. All of that said, I give the pick to Girard Invincibles. Looking at Blood, Sweat, and Beer versus Basic White Chicks, Alex has got Peyton Manning, we'll just call him Dead Arm from now on, who's listed as probable against Detroit. Mike Wallace against San Diego. Not a great matchup there, but Chris Ivory, who's listed as probable, is projected to go 11.5 against Philly, and Freeman, the Atlanta running back, is projected to go 11.5. For Blood, Sweat, and Beer, she's got Brady against Jacksonville, that cheating son of a gun. She's got DeMarco Murray against the New York Giants, and the only thing that really is a question is Witten down in Dallas. For her tight end, who's listed as questionable, and they've got a brand new quarterback down there in Dallas after Tony Romo gets pounded into the ground. All of that said, I give the win to Basic White Chicks, who I see moving on to 3-0. Taking a look now at Big Blue at 2-0 versus Rednecks at 0-2. Dawn needs a win in the worst way, but it's going to be tough this week with Breeze against Carolina, who's listed as questionable, and Jackson, the wide receiver from Washington, who's listed as out. Matt Forte against Seattle, that's going to be tough. He's projected to get 12.5. We'll have to see. And then Walker's listed as questionable as your tight end. For Veronica, she had Tannehill. Tannehill had over 50 points last week. Tannehill has another good matchup this week against Buffalo. Eddie Lacy is listed as questionable. He sprained his ankle. You may want to consider somebody else there. And Cameron is out for Miami. Even though it's a 118-115 projected win for Veronica, I think the matchups are too good for her, and I give my pick to Big Blue, who goes on to 3-0, and that means Dawn, you're going to drop, I think, to 0-3. Very unusual for you. Back that pass up, 0-2, third down for what? 0-2. The good news is that somebody has to win. Chicago is going to be hosting Seattle this week. Russell Wilson has a decent enough matchup up there. T.Y. Hilton is listed as questionable, as is Anderson, running back for Rebecca. For Jed, Cam Newton gets New Orleans. That's an okay matchup. Julio Jones gets Dallas. Randall Cobb gets Kansas City. Marshawn Lynch gets Chicago. All three of those guys are listed as probable. I am not, and then Jed's got Thomas is listed as out, and Devontae Adams is listed as questionable for the Packers. All of that said, I think Rebecca finally picks up the win and improves to 1-2. Jed drops to 0-3. Taking a look at our game of the week. This is Swamp Donkeys at 2-0 versus Blue and Gold at 1-1. For Rick, Big Ben is against St. Louis. He should have his way down there. Other key matchups are Chad Johnson against Denver, who's projected to go for almost 12. LaShawn McCoy for 11.5. And Le'Veon Bell, even though he's out, he's projected to go 14.89. But right now Yahoo is reporting him out. For Blue and Gold, Matty Ryan gets Dallas. That's a good matchup. A.J. Green against Baltimore, not great. Julian Edelman is going to be running against Jacksonville. That's a great matchup. Jamal Charles against Green Bay, not so good. And Randall against Atlanta, not a great matchup either. All of that said, though, I think it's a 136.6, 127.2 projected win for Swamp Donkeys. I see Rick going on and improving to 3-0. So that's it for this week number 3. Everybody get your lineup set. There's a Thursday night game, as there is every year or every week now in the NFL. That's about it for now. Oh, and by the way, I'm dropping out of the race for president. I've decided that I'm going to suspend my campaign. Me and Governor Rick Scott are going to suspend our campaigns. So there you go. You heard it here first. All right, everyone. Have a good week. See you next week. So long.